Hey crafty people, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Okay, so I have got a whole bunch of stuff on my desk because I am in the mood for another mixed media project. This is one of those projects that has been on my to-do list for 2 years now. And what I want to do is create a Christmas scene house using a Tim Holtz Idea-ology Vignette Shrine. So I've already opened that up, and it comes with 2 pieces to create like a platform for the shrine to sit on. But with what I want to do with my piece, they're not big enough. So I am going to use instead the smaller of the Vignette Trays by Tim Holtz and Idea-ology. I haven't pulled it out yet, but this is one of the Vignette Trays. So I'm going to be using the smaller Vignette Tray. The plan is we're going to create on the inside a little scene, and I want to have like an attic area as well. And I would have used the pieces that come with the set, except they are too wide, so they're going to stick out too much. And of course my crafts popsicle stick thingies are a little too narrow, but I had a couple scraps in my stash, so these are, you know, little wood sticks that I'm going to use to build the floor for the attic, which I need to trim them down so they'll fit in. So that's on the to-do list. So inside I plan on doing a Christmas tree. I'm going to use a Tim Holtz die to create a fireplace mantle over here. Then I've got, these are like Scrabble tile wood blanks and a couple small cubes, and this one's I think the 1/2 inch, so I think that's a 1/4 inch cube to make into presents to go under our tree. And then I've got the Christmas baubles and the Christmas stars for decorating our tree. So that's the plan for the inside. And then in the attic, I plan on having a box with like turned over on its side with a wrapping paper roll in it, and maybe a couple of the ornaments. I may pull out the actually full bauble things that are round and make a few ornaments to have spilling out of the box. And then I'm gonna do a little mouse because, you know, 'twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. So I'm gonna have a little mouse up in the attic area. So that's the plan for the inside. For the outside, I am planning on doing a door, and of course I'm going to use some Tim Holtz tiny lights to light everything up. So I'm going to do a door, and I've got the metal wreaths that we're going to use alcohol inks to color. And then on either side of the door, I plan on having, and this is why I needed the bigger stand because there wasn't enough room for these guys. So I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do 2 snowmen or a snowman and a Santa. So I've got to think about that and make a decision as to whether I'm going to do that. But that's going to be part of the process. So for covering Vignette Tray, I've got some Tim Holtz backdrops, and now I kept going back and forth about whether or not I wanted to use just some backdrop papers or do like texture paste and all that. But this sucker is going to be involved enough, so I decided let's go with the papers. Unfortunately, I only have 1 pack that has the brick in it, and the brick isn't big enough to cover the whole front and then the 2 sides, because yeah, the vignette box is too wide to do that. So what I think I'm going to do is go up to where we hit the peak where the attic will be, and then use this paper for covering the attic area, and then I'll just do some kind of awning type thing to cover up the transition between the 2 papers, because if I cut this down here, I'll have enough from this to do the 2 sides, although I think my brick's gonna end up going the wrong way that way. I think it is, but I'm hoping because it's on the side, it won't be too terribly noticeable and we'll be able to get away with that. So that's the plan for the outside. And then I'm gonna use this backdrop paper for the downstairs inside so that it looks kind of like, you know, old wallpaper. So let's get started with, oh, and then I've got the Tim Holtz washi tape from the Christmas set that I'm gonna do to finish off the edges along here. So let's set that aside because that's way down the road. Let's clear some space, and I think what I'm gonna start with doing is a messy bit because then it can have some time to dry. So let's get everything we don't want to get messy out of the way. So I've got up my splat box because I'm going to use Distress Spray Stain in Rustic Wilderness to color my Tim Holtz tree. And this is from the skinny tree set because the bigger ones wouldn't fit. So we're just going to give him a little spritz. And I like that it's not all solid one color. And yes, my fingers are messy. So I'm gonna set this guy aside and let him dry completely. And what I'm gonna end up doing for the base is probably painting it red. I bought the Tim Holtz Idea-ology tree stands, but it's too wide and won't fit in the vignette box. So I am gonna set this aside, let it dry, and have a bit of a cleanup here. I think what I'm gonna do is use it to dye some seam binding for some other projects. So I'm gonna take care of that and get my fingers all cleaned up, and then I'll be back. Okay, so the tree is dry, and that's what it looks like, and I'm quite happy with that, how that turned out. And what I wanna do first, just to kind of get it out of the way, is cover the back and the inside with our papers. And so what I'm gonna do is take some quick measurements. So I'm gonna cut one down to the brick down to 6 inches because that should cover the whole front. And I am gonna cut the inside one down to 6 as well because I figure this way I can crease the little bit I need to down here so that we'll have full smooth coverage kind of thing. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so for the side, that's just gonna go on like that. And I think I'm gonna wrap the ends over just because then I'll have nice clean edges along here. So if I'm doing that, let's figure out how wide this is. It is not quite 4 3/4, and this is 6 wide, isn't it? Yes, it is. So that's 1 1/4-ish. I'm gonna get my score board out so I can score this. And I'm gonna score it in 3/4 of an inch on this side. And we're just gonna use the edge of the box to make that crease. Just gonna fold it over and then pull out my scoreboard again. Well, I still have it out. Put it in on my 6 line, which I have marked to help me with scoring, and just score like so. Bring our piece back over and wrap that around and wrap that around. And so there's the front of our house. So let's just grab some art glitter glue and glue this on. You of course can use whatever glue you like. You could use Tim Holtz collage medium, would probably work great for attaching this. Grab my bone folder and burnish it on, and I may need to add more glue around the sides. It may have dried because I took too long fiddling. Yep, I think that's what happened. So all right, so there's the front. Now for the inside, oh, we need to, oh yeah, I'm going to score it up. And what I think I may do, just to make life a little bit easier, instead of measuring, is mark here and here. Those bits are about, let's see, 1/8 of an inch. So let's see if I can find my pencil marks that I made. I did, there they are. So we're gonna go 1/8 of an inch in from the pencil marks, and that should get us exactly where we need for having this wrap to the sides. And again, I'm gonna line it up using the 6 and move 1/8 in. So it should fit in perfectly now, theoretically. Let's see if I did all of my measuring correctly. Oh, not quite. Not quite. Let's score this one. Let's do 1 more 1/8 over. So here's where I scored. Let's do that one. That's still 2. All right, we're gonna move this one over 1/8 inch more. So yeah, this is definitely, apparently I should have just measured. Might have been better off measuring. All right, let's try that. Let's see if that'll work. Needs to be somewhere between there. So let's do that. And now I need that little bit at the bottom. So let's start with 1/8 and see if that works. And yes, this is being very, very fiddly. That is probably not enough. All right, let's do 1/4. All right, so now we're gonna stuff that back in, and I'm gonna go in and trim out some excess in the corners there. Once I verify that that is correct height-wise. Yes. Yes, okay. So to take out bulk and enable us to get this to fold down correctly, I'm going to snip this. And I'm gonna end up covering the bottom. I haven't figured out with what yet, but given that it doesn't have to give perfect coverage, I just figured this way. So I'm not looking to cover this up with this piece. I'm just looking to cover my corners neatly. So now I'm gonna dry fit to make sure we've got it in good. I'm gonna use my bone folder to make sure my creases are good. And now, see, it's all nice and seamless. And you can't really see the extra creases I made. So this is ready to get glued in. Use our bone folder to make sure we're glued down. And I know I don't have glue along the sides. I will be doing that in a second. Just going in, making sure everything's burnished down. I'll add any extra glue I may need to add. But there we go. There's our wallpapered room, and our tree will look very nice and green against that. Oh yeah, I'm liking this already. This is already making me happy. All right, let's go ahead and finish up the outsides. I'm not liking the idea of going this way. So what I may do is piece it together like so that they are going in the same direction. It's not going to match up exactly, but I may decide on some kind of decoration to distract from that fact. And what we're going to do to make life easier is just mark where we need to cut. Let's try that again. Let's move this out of the way. We don't need this anymore. And I'll trim any excess after I attach it. Oh, it's 1 inch. All right. So let's cut 1 inch off. So I'm just gonna do that, glue, and then trim off after the glue dries. And we're just gonna stick a piece to cover that, and you're never gonna know. Like, but for the fact that you're watching me do this, you'll not have any clue. It will blend in. Yeah, it's noticeable right now because I just did it, and so I'm looking for where the seams are, but I'm betting when I come back to finish working on this later, I'm not even gonna really notice. All right, I'm gonna just trim these pieces off so I don't have them hanging out there. And we'll do any additional trimming, because yeah, there's definitely some still sticking up later. I've got to figure out what I want to do up there, but let's go ahead real quick and cut a piece to go here. And what I may do is just set this aside for a little while, let it dry, and use a knife along the edge to cut that off so I can get a cleaner cut. So that's what our front's gonna look like. I need to come up with some kind of trim or something to go here to serve as an eave for our front door, like for where it divides kind of thing. I'm also probably going to off camera paint the tray it's gonna get glued onto white, because I'm gonna have it be a snowy ground. So I'm gonna set all of this stuff aside, and I will be back once I've done that, which is probably gonna be okay. Now that the glue is dry, we're gonna trim off the excess paper, and I'm just gonna grab my Fiskar fingertip knife, because I think that's gonna be the easiest way to do this, and just run it along the edge Try and run it along the edge. There we go, and that way I messed up the least amount of the rest of this piece of paper, so I can still use it for something else. And that looks good. What I need to do is trim the excess off of these sides as well. Okay, so I am back. Done a base coat of gray paint on the roof, and I want to put a chimney on. So I spent a little time trying to figure this out. So if I create just like a hollow box and put it on, it looks really weird sticking out at that strange angle. And trust me, there were many failed attempts before I settled on how to do it. And I'll explain how I did it. And this is the one that I got right, because doesn't that look better where you've got it going pretty much straight? It's not perfect, but it's pretty straight going across. So this is how I figured out this, and my end measurements. So in case you are using the Tim Holtz Idea-ology Shrine box to craft along with me, is a piece that's 1.5 by 3.5 inches. And I'll go through how to get it to this stage in a minute, but I'm going to explain how I figured out how to do it. This way, if you've got a different sloped roof piece, you can figure it out for yourself. I put it down on a piece of paper and drew the angle of my roof. I decided originally I had decided on the size that I wanted this, which was 1 inch, but that wasn't working out quite right. So what I ended up doing was I decided my short side of my chimney was going to be 1/2 inch high. So I guesstimated about where it was going to go on the roof, measured up 1/2 inch. I decided it was going to be 3/4 of an inch wide. So I then measured across 3/4 of an inch. So this is 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. Then I measured from this point down to the roof, and that came out to be 1 1/4. So I added 1/4 inch because you need to have little flaps for attaching it to the piece, right? We'll glue those down and then put our roofing over top of it to cover that. So that's the 1/4 inch for the little flanges to hold it on. And then the 3.5 came from 3/4 of an inch plus 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 1/2 inch flap, so that I could glue the box together nice and easily. So that's how I got my measurements and how I figured it out. I also want to put some stairs. So I was just playing around and used a couple scrap pieces of paper to create little boxes like with the chimney, and decided that, yeah, that was gonna work for my stairs. Let me see if I can angle it a little better. Actually, it's gonna be a little bit further out. So what I ended up deciding for my stairs is they're going to come out a total of 1 inch and go up 1/2 inch on the thing, because that's about as high as I can go and still have my door fit on without it going above where we've got the seam with the transition. And you know, I need to put some kind of piece here to cover that, and I haven't figured out what that is yet. Still working on it. So for the stairs, I decided we're going to go up, since I can only go up 1/2 inch and I'm doing 2 stairs, each stair is going to be 1/4 inch high. But I decided I liked about 1/2 inch in, so it's 1 inch by 1/2 inch. So I've got these 2 pieces that are going to serve as the sides that I've cut out and marked up. So they're 1/2 inch high and 1 inch wide. And so my first step, it goes up 1/4 inch, in 1/2 inch, up 1/4 inch. So we don't need this bit on the top. So that's going to be one sided piece for the stairs, and then same thing over here. So I just kind of drew a line at the 1/2 inch mark and then a line at the 1/4 inch up. So these are going to be the side pieces for my stairs, because, you know, I don't want them hollow like this. So essentially this piece is going to go like so on my stair pieces on either side. And then I cut the doors just a little shy of 2 3/4 inches. So I originally cut out a piece that was 2 3/4 inches by 1 1/2. And the 1 1/2 I got from doing 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, because we're going to score it and then glue it. But I realized I needed flanges like with the roof for attaching the side pieces. So I went back and cut a piece that's 1 1/2 by 3 1/2. So let's do that piece first so I can show you, before I lose these 2 pieces, how we're doing that. So I'm going to grab my scoreboard and my scoring tool, and I'm going to keep my little explanations so I pay attention to what I'm doing. So it's going to go this way, so we're scoring on this side, but we need to score. I made it too wide. I should have made it 3 1/4, not 3 1/2. I should have added a 1/4 inch on either side. All right, so we're gonna just use the scoring board to trim this off. Because if I want the final width to be 2 1/4, what I'm gonna do is score this on either side a 1/4 inch in. Which then gives me my 2 3/4 width. And then score down the sides. We're gonna go, I'm gonna score going this way just because it's easier. It's kind of hard to get that 1/4 inch. So we're gonna go, for our first step, up a 1/4 inch. Then the width of the step is a 1/2 inch. Then we do another 1/4 inch. And that'll leave us with a 1/2 inch top. So what we're gonna do is move our scoreboard out of the way, take a pair of scissors and clip out a little bit of the paper going where our scores for the stairs and the tread are, and stopping at our little 1/4 inch. So let's see, how well can you see this? So I cut along these score marks only up to this score mark. So let's zoom out. Let me grab a pen and I'll mark it so you can see as I'm going along what I'm talking about. So we've got this score line here, and this is going to be on the inside, so it does not matter. That's serving as our means of attaching our side pieces, which, okay, they're there. But the pieces aren't going to fold in nicely if we leave all of the bulk around the score in. Like, we're going to have issues. So we're going to cut those, cutting a little bit away to either side of those score marks. So that's where we're cutting. So we're going to do a little sliver like that and a little sliver like that, and the same over here and here, and the same on this side. Okay, so then we fold there, fold there, fold there. And actually, we fold going the other way because this is the inside. And like so. So, actually it's, oh wait, one goes this way, one, it's more of a Z fold. So that's what the piece looks like. So those are well folded at this point. So I'm gonna start on this side and I'm gonna fold my flaps down, and actually these guys will glue to each other. So we can do fold that and that. Oops, come on. And hold it for a sec. And then that and that will fold like that. And let's go ahead and just do this side as well, and then we can attach the side pieces for our stairs. And then what we do is add glue here and here and attach this piece like so. And then the other one goes on this side. Now I'm trying to make sure if there's any like overhang excess that it's towards the back, because that'll make it easier to trim off than towards the front. And I haven't decided yet what I'm gonna do for these, like treatment wise, so that they, you know, look a little bit better. So that'll go like that, and our door will go like that. So it'll end up looking like this. And I may cut another piece to go along the back here, just to give it a little bit more stability and give me a more surface area for attaching it to here. So that's what I'll probably do. And I'll do another piece that's 3 1/4 inches by, what was this, 1/2 inch. So yeah, that's what our stairs are gonna look like. And I'm going to do a banister for them. So I've got some dowels. I've got to sit and figure out the math for that, and I haven't decided yet on the stairs or to the side of the stairs. So that's still a work in progress, but I wanted to show you how to do this piece, so that can get set aside. And now let's do our chimney. So I'm going to bring back my scoreboard and I'll show you how to do the chimney. I used the chimney piece, that's why it was too wide. Oi. Okay, I'm gonna need to cut another piece of paper because this piece of paper is not gonna be wide enough, because this is the piece of paper I cut to 3 1/4. Oi. All right, let me go do that. I'll be right back. So how many of you saw chimney written on the back of that piece and was yelling at me that I was scoring the wrong piece? All right, so this is 1 1/2 by 3 1/2. We're gonna score at, again, because it's easier to score coming this way than in the corner here, 1/4 inch. So I'm scoring it at 1 1/4, just because that's easier on our 1 1/2 inch side. Then we're going to score at 3/4 inch, 1 1/2, yep, 2 1/4, and 3. Then we're going to fold. Then we are going to, all right, so this is our fold in piece. So we are going to cut, okay, let me mark this score line. I'm gonna do it in pencil because there's a chance I may need to erase. So that's our 1/4 inch score line. And we're gonna trim up that piece and take away this all together. We don't need that piece, because this piece folds in. So just cutting that away. Now, this is our short piece. We need our short piece to be a 1/2 inch. So we are going to measure down from the top a 1/2 inch and mark. And then we're going to mark down a 1/4 inch from that. Now, this now needs to decrease from here to the top of that score line. So I'm going to take my ruler and go from my 1/2 inch and angle that down and do the same thing on this side. And what we're going to do is we are going to, so that's what we end up getting. We are going to cut up this score line, cut up to there, stop, flip it over. We're going to cut up to the score line again, stop. We are not cutting across here because we want to have a bit of a flange. So we're going to cut across this piece and then trim these little corners off, or triangles. So we're going to cut up along the score line to our 1/2 inch mark. I'm going to bring back my scoreboard, line this up on the little center line I got there, and score. Because this is going to fold out, this one's going to fold out, and our chimney is going to fold in like this, and it should fit on our roof perfectly. Let's test this out. So it goes on our roof like so. Now, I'm not gluing it right this second because I want to give it a brick look. And so I'm going to use the Tim Holtz Sizzix 3D Texture Fades Mini, and this is 665462. It was designed to go with like the mini village set. And I am going to, hoping it will fit. I'm gonna emboss it. And I think what I'm gonna do is ink the bricks red, put the piece in, emboss, and that should give me red bricks with the gray as the grout. So I'm gonna do that off camera and I'll be back. I also decided for the floor on the inside, because I realized I need to put a floor in here. I also need to finish this off. For the floor, I'm gonna use the Texture Fades Mini, which does the wood grain, and I'm gonna do a cream cardstock and put it in, I think this, I'm gonna ink this side and have it so that the debossed areas have ink on them, and do like a cream cardstock with a brown to get our floor, or I may do the gray with brown and go that way, but I'm gonna do that and do a couple planks for doing the flooring, because the planks are going this way, so I'll probably do, I can do one piece and then just piece it together for covering up our floor in our house. So that I'm gonna do off camera, and I'll come back and show you what that looks like. There's one more thing I wanna do while I've got you here before I go off and do that stuff, is I wanna create our floor for the attic area. And I need to take a measurement, and mostly because I wanted to show you how I'm gonna cut those pieces. So it is not an exact number. It's a hair over 4 1/4. So we're gonna mark these a hair over 4 1/4 because I can trim more off if I need to. I can't. Adding in is not as easy. All right, let's make some space so I can actually put my ruler down. So for each of these pieces, I'm gonna mark it. I'm gonna do this so I can actually see the ruler. All right, so that it was here. So I think I may go here just in case I muck up the cutting. I have room to cut it off. And then our filler pieces. Now to cut these, I am gonna grab a craft knife and a ruler. And I'm just gonna set this down and try and be as straight as possible. I'm gonna take my craft knife and we're gonna do many shallow cuts is the best way to do this. So I'm just gonna keep at this point, I've got enough of a groove going on in here that I'm just gonna essentially saw until I get through all the way. Gonna pull it around because I think if I come at it from the back now, I can get through it. There we go. And I will sand the edges on a sanding block. Let's see, does this fit in? No. Because I did leave a little bit of extra just in case. So I'm gonna have to basically cut a sliver off. Let's see if we fit in now. Almost. That I think I'm just gonna sand off to get it all the way short enough to go in. But that's basically, yeah, because that is not, it's, what I ended up doing was I angled. That might work. Probably needs a little bit more taken off. Hold on, let me go grab a sanding block. Went across the room looking for my sanding block in the container, Rubbermaid container behind me. So I'm just gonna sand that down a little bit. See how we fit. Now, all right, I can get it in. There we go. So that's the first one. I'm gonna do the other two pieces off camera because you don't need to see me doing that. And then what I think I'm gonna do is trying to decide because I kind of wanted to leave the attic unfinished, but this is not the same color. So I think what I may do is dilute some distress paint and paint these a darker brown so that they'll blend in better. And probably once I put it on and I do the washi tape all along here, I'll put some along here as well. So I'm gonna do that. I also think, so that all the pieces are attached together, I'm gonna attach them to a piece of paper, and I'm gonna leave a little flap so that I can attach it down here and then run glue all along there when I attach it in. And so that should help with getting it in securely. But I'll do that on camera so you can see what I'm talking about better. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut these guys down, paint them, emboss the chimney, emboss the flooring pieces, put a backer on our stairs, and figure out what I want to do with the stairs. I'm thinking right now, quickest, easiest, simplest thing is going to be to cover this with some grit paste Crypt so that they can then go on the front and they'll have some texture to them. And I like that idea, so I'm going to do that and I'll be back. Okay, so I painted the floor for the attic. I added a backing piece to our stairs and covered them in grit paste, and it's mostly dry but not quite dry yet because I figured that would give the look of like concrete stairs. Had a bit of a mishap when I die cut the chimney. It ripped and the inking was not how I kind of wanted it. So I redid the whole thing. Did not ink it before, did not ink the embossing folder, just ran it through, then rubbed fired brick archival ink over the top to get our brick color. I did add a piece of gray cardstock over top to create like the lip for the chimney and covered that with grit paste as well. I'm probably going to cut some pieces of like black cardstock to stick inside so that it's, you know, if you look down into the piece for some reason, it's not gonna be the inside gray. It'll just be a black hole kind of thing. So I'll do that, and then that's gonna get attached here. Let's see, what else am I doing? I ran some gray cardstock through with Hickory Smoke archival ink on top, but I think it needs more inking to get it to like the color I want for our flooring, because that'll go in like that as wood plank flooring, but the color just isn't quite where I want it to be. So we're gonna play around with that. And then for underneath our attic pieces, I decided what we're gonna do is we're gonna slide the pieces in, which I ended up not needing the 2 additional pieces, just the one. Once I got them cut down and pushed them in, I realized, okay, I only need 1. I cut a piece of, this is a, I forget the name of the 6x6 packs I have of paper. So we're gonna get a wood grain effect for the ceiling. And then I left 2 little flaps where I haven't covered yet with this paper so that that can glue there and there, and I'll glue the flooring up here on there, and I'll run the washi tape across here when we get to that part, so that the whole front is the same with the Christmas washi. And that's gonna need to get trimmed a little, but I wanna also ink this a little bit. So let's do a little bit of inking. For this, I am just gonna grab, let's start out light with some tea stain. Not tea stain, tea dye. We're just gonna, yeah, I think that's gonna work perfect for this. Just get it into browns more, so it kind of blends better. That goes towards the front. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna glue these pieces to the paper and hopefully not regret that choice when I go to add them back in. So we're just gonna add glue, and I don't remember if I said I used gathered twigs distress paint to paint them, but that is what I used to paint these guys. Just gonna make sure they're lined up with each other, and there's a little bit of excess sticking out, so we're just gonna trim that off. And I'm gonna run glue along here, these sides, and the little flap, and glue it into place, because I think I'm good to go for that. That's not the right side to put the glue on, because that's the side that faces out. Let's put the glue on the correct side, which is this side. That is a nice tight fit. That sucker's not going anywhere. There we go. We've got our attic all set. We've got a floor. Yay! I'm so happy. And yeah, I'm just gonna leave that unfinished for the rest of it because, you know, it's an attic, and that works for our ceiling. Now let's get some ink on for our flooring, and let's start with some tea dye and just brush that over. And I think we're gonna step it up a notch and grab some vintage photo. Let's pull our piece over and take a look and see how we like this color for the flooring. Now granted, you're not going to see much of the flooring because we're going to have the tree in, and we're going to have some presents, and I am going to do a chimney with fireplace kind of thing. But I think what I want to do is grab gathered twigs, and I'm just going to run it across so it catches some of the highlights, like the high pieces on the embossed bit. And then I'm going to come in with my blending brush and soften it a little bit. I think that'll work. So let's go ahead. Now, because I am also going to put lights in this, and what I'm going to need to do, because this is super thick, is drill holes. And what I want is there's going to be a fireplace over here, and I'm going to put a couple lights in the fireplace, then go back out and underneath. Since our base is this piece, it's going to go on like so, and then I can hide the lights underneath. So they'll go down there. So I've got to figure out where my fireplace holes need to be and where the holes for the strand of lights that are going to go on the Christmas tree is going to be. Drill holes in this, and then drill holes in this. Then I'm going to attach the flooring and just use a pokey tool to poke out the holes through the paper, because I think that's going to work better than trying to drill through it. I think that's just going to make a mess with the paper, and I'd be better off just poking it with the pokey tool. So what we're going to do is set that aside for now. I want to work on the roof because I've got, this is the Tim Holtz Village Collection 665564, and I die cut out the shingle roof out of a dark gray or mid-tone gray cardstock, but what I want to do is splatter it with a bunch of paints to give it more of a, you know, shingle look. I need to go grab something that I need for doing that and put up my splat box. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna show you what I want to do for inking these guys up. Okay, so got up my splat box. Unfortunately, the only way the tray fits in is this way, as opposed to going this way, so not as much of it's on screen as I would like. But I've laid out all of my die cut pieces of shingling, and I've put paint on my plastic plate that I use as a palette. Say that 5 times fast. And here are the paints that I've grabbed. I've got Gathered Twigs, Pumice Stone, Weathered Wood, Old Paper, Hickory Smoke, and some black soot. I'm gonna add some water to the paints. And I've got a couple paintbrushes, and I am just going to dip my brush into my watered down paint and kind of splatter the pieces. Because I want to get that speckled look you get with like the type of shingles I have on my house. Just adding a little bit of just water to the palette so that I can water down the paint even more. Switch colors, and I'm not even bothering to clean off the paintbrush because again, I'm just looking to get kind of a speckled look to these to give them some texture and dimension. Alright, so I'm gonna let those dry, possibly go back and add more splatters if I think they need a little bit more once they're dry. And then I'll show you how I'm gonna shingle the roof. I'll be back. Okay, so my shingle pieces are all dry and everybody's different, and I'm pretty happy with them. I didn't need to add any more paint, I don't think. Hopefully I won't come across ones where I'm like, yeah, I should have painted that again. And I did add black cardstock inside our chimney so that it's, you know, kind of just blends in on the inside there. I'll probably add a little bit more grit paste inside, but I'm gonna go ahead and attach our chimney. Like so. Just gonna grab my bone folder and make sure I get that pressed down good, and then I'm gonna go bring dogs in because they're being idiots. Okay, I think they stopped. All right. And now I'm gonna attach my shingle pieces, and I'm just gonna start at the bottom with it overhanging just a little bit. Actually, I think I'm gonna go front to the back side. And let's just add a little glue, and I'm gonna have them overhanging just a little bit off the bottom. And then I'm gonna trim the excess. Across and just trim off any excess, and then take the short piece and apply it there. And so I'm just making sure I overlap my pieces, and I'm just going to glue down on that part and stick that down. And I'm gonna keep doing that all the way up. And for over here, what I'll do is take another piece, not that one. that one because it's got a short guy next. So I'll just add another piece on like so, snip off, and keep going. So that's what I'm gonna do for all of this. And then I'll just cut pieces shorter to go around our chimney. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this all the way up to the top. And I'm hoping I'll end up getting one where I'm like there on the top so I can just curve it over. But if I have to do something different, I will come back on and show you. But otherwise, I'm just gonna go ahead and shingle this whole roof because that's gonna be really tedious to watch me just gluing strips of paper all the way up the roof. Okay, so I finished doing all of the roof. And so there you can see what that looks like. And for the top piece, what I ended up doing is for the last one on, so with the last one on this side, I placed it high enough that I could roll the edge over so we've got a nice finished edge. And then I just trimmed this one shorter so it would fit there and go along there so we've got a nice finish to the edge there. I also went ahead and put the washi tape all along the edge here, and this spot, I'm like, what is going on over here? I think I may need to come in and ink along here because I see some white showing. Edge of the paper where I didn't quite get it covered with the washi. So I'll probably come in with just dauber and black soot and ink along there. And I've drilled my holes. So what I've done is, and I tested to make sure my lights fit through. I got to put the flooring on before I put the lights on for good. So let me undo these. All right, so what I did was I drilled the holes through the bottom of here because I figured it would be hard to get my drill inside the box, which you can kind of see a couple spots where because I didn't measure, I kind of eyeballed it. I should have moved these guys up a little bit further because yeah, the drill ran along the edge of my wallpaper, but this is gonna get covered by the fireplace and that'll be hidden behind the tree, so I'm not too worried about it. And then I realized when I did the fireplace at the same line with the one for the Christmas tree that it was way too far back, and so I drilled them again. Then I set it down on my box base and used a pencil to mark and drilled the holes through there. So what I'm gonna do when I put the lights on is they're gonna go up through that hole, back down through this hole, back up through that hole. And this way I'm gonna have a fireplace with a little flickering fire in it, so it's gonna have lights behind it, and then we'll string the lights around the Christmas tree. And now I need to go and put the flooring on because what I can do is poke the holes going this way. So see how you can kind of see the damage from drilling the hole. Let's see, can you see the damage? See how it kind of damaged the paper coming up? If I poke going down with like my awl, it won't cause as much damage to the flooring piece. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put the flooring piece on, poke holes, and then we'll be ready for attaching it on. I think I'm probably gonna hold off on attaching this to the base until we're ready to string the lights back in, because I found there were times where I needed to move this out of the way to get the lights through easily. So I don't want to attach it to the base until I've got my lights in, which means doing the fireplace. So I think that's where we're going to call it quits for today. Before I come back in the next video and we start doing all the decorating and the fun bits and get this attached and all that sort of stuff, I'm going to put additional strips of wallpaper up on the walls, put the flooring in, figure out the fireplace stuff, and oh, I also figured out what I'm gonna do for this piece. So I got 2 more of my little popsicle sticks. I painted them gray. I'm gonna stick them on here like so they create a little awning, and then I'm gonna cover them with the extra strips of paper we did for the ceiling, or for the roof. So I'll probably do that off camera as well, just just gonna glue the sticks together and attach these pieces till they cover. And I think the way they'll work out is if I put 2 or 3 on. I think it's 2 maybe. I can bend these pieces down so that they hang down a little bit so that you can see it as like kind of an awning over the house. So that's what I'm gonna do along here to cover up the transition between the 2 different paints. And I will be back in the next video and we'll start getting to the full-on decorating now that we've got like the construction on the house done. So I will be back. So that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me and happy crafting.